And I've been fighting, it seems like my whole life, against Monsanto and GMOs. Really happy to be here today with some of the leaders of our movement here. So we'll start out with Jeffrey Smith, who I'm sure you all know, and then we'll go to Pamm, Larry, and then we'll go to Zen Honeycutt. And the format is they'll speak briefly each, and then I'll have a couple of questions I want to ask them, and then we want to turn it into a discussion with those of you out there in the audience.
Hello, everyone. If you can't hear me, raise your hand. That doesn't mean any sense, does it? So I've been working on the GMO issue for 23 years. And thank you. And I have been involved in framing the debate, or in some cases reframing the debate, focusing on the health dangers so that people would realize eating GMOs was dangerous, so the food companies would realize continuing to use GMOs was bad for their bottom line. And so we exposed the health dangers, and we exposed the corrupt practices, and all that. And now the title of this panel is The Future of GMOs. And because of some changes in the biotech industry strategy and technology, I'm going to be doing something different for the first time in 23 years. We're going to be reframing the debate once again. So it's not our focus now at IRT is to continue the momentum that we've created, but also the biotech industry now is touting gene editing. And gene editing is cheap. To get something genetically engineered, price of dinner. And of course, to get it to the market costs more. But there's now the ability for them to dream up genetically engineered ecosystems, where a farmer can send off data, soil samples, and they can have customized genetically engineered soil organisms, sprays which change the genetic expression of the crop, insects which are genetically engineered, and in the future, those that can deposit viruses which will genetically engineer in the field, and you can still grow a non-GMO crop in the middle of that and call it non-GMO. But it goes beyond that, because everything with DNA is being targeted in this global gene rush. It is like a gold rush into the genome, from bacteria to bees, from algae to animals, from fungus to flowers. And if we don't stop it, tens of thousands of labs over this generation will be introducing new gene-edited organisms into the environment. Now there's two things we need to know about that. First of all is, they corrupt the gene pool forever. We don't have a technology to clean up the gene pool. It becomes irreversible, self-propagating genetic pollution. So all living beings and all future generations will inherit the folly of this generation if they replace nature. And I use that term very specifically, eliminating the products of the billions of years of evolution and replacing it with designer organisms designed for greater profit and control by the companies that we know and have learned to disrespect. The second aspect of genetic engineering is that the most common result is surprise side effects. Now, you take thousands or 100,000 organisms with all of their interactions in the environment and the propensity to have side effects. What are the chances of a cataclysm? What are the chances of a virus? What are the chances of horrible results? As you multiply the risk by the number of organisms and interactions, you increase the probability towards certainty. So what we need to do is to reframe the world debate now so that those who are involved with planetary survival, climate chaos, oceans at risk, soil at risk, they adopt the message that nature is at risk. We can't do it. These people here, with a handful of others, we're the anti-GMO national figures in the United States and Canada. We're not going to do it. We're not going to be able to protect nature in this generation ourselves, but we can create the educational information, the assets, and give it to the majority of people in the world who now believe that climate chaos is a reality, and ask them to add this protection. Because if we solve the problem of climate change, if we solve the problem of the oceans, if we protect the soils, we still might lose the natural world we cherish. And so our focus now is to protect all living beings and all future generations. And you can't do that just at the grocery store when we're talking about genetically engineered microorganisms or algae or flowers or fish. It's got to be holistic. In addition to consumer education, there has to be policy, international treaties, litigation, legislation, media, social media, and we need to use the infrastructure of the existing organizations that are already fertile in desiring to protect all future generations from whatever they're looking at, climate chaos, ocean issues, etc., and simply have them adopt this new framing. So, at the end of this panel, I'm going to give a number, a phone number that you can text the word JOIN to, and then we will send you information how you can help us populate this message throughout the world. And the payoff is protecting all living beings and all future generations. Thank you.
And I'm thinking back to about, a couple hours ago when I walked through the gates, and I felt this overwhelming sense of love, which is what I feel every time I come here. And I first came here during Prop 37, and I've been reflecting on those times when it was just like there was this amazing amount of love and connection that not only sprang up here, but actually all around the country and then all around the world. And it was just like this love is just so strong. And then, I listen to the stuff and I think about the stuff I read every day, and I start to contract in fear again, and then I get, little sparkles, here and there. But mostly I try to come now from a place of love, and realizing that I can do a lot of the same stuff that I've been doing, but I'm doing it because I've always loved the planet, but I'm not letting the people and the animals and the insects, and that's what drives all of our work up here. But I'm tapping into that more now than the anger. I'm sure it'll arise 4 or 5 times during my talk right now, but I'm better at dealing with it and getting rid of it. But I really appreciate Jeffrey talking about, the consequences. And I call that the oops factor. We have it a lot with all technology. It's like, oh, what a great idea. Let's do x-rays and put them in all the shoe stores in the 40s and 50s. Oops. Sorry about that, folks. Oh, what about genetic engineering? Oops. Oh, just found out that those hornless cows also contain antibiotic-resistant bacteria. Or just read, like 10 minutes before I walked in the door, that those mosquitoes that are supposed to, get rid of Zika, oops, they're taking over instead of not replicating, instead of, going extinct. Oh, oops. So, during Prop 37, we had a shift happen. It was going on while we were doing 37, but we didn't really know it. Until afterwards. Jeffrey was the one that was kind of coming in because there's new techniques coming, blah, blah, blah. You were the first one I heard talking about that. The landscape has changed incredibly. Like Jeffrey was saying, trials going from, is it like 50,000 an attempt to like $50? People with, every time they try something. So it's a completely different landscape and plenty of opportunity for oops to happen. I believe we won the GMO war in many ways because we moved the market. Yay to you, yay. But now we're dealing with this very interesting PR pain, where even sometimes we flounder in our messaging around gene editing. You know, we allow them to continue to control the conversation on some level. Gene editing is not just editing, it's genetic engineering with a good PR campaign. And I think it's really important for us to dispel, you know, the confusion out there, which I hear from people who are avid proponents of labeling, saying, you know, it's just editing. We have to get that message out, and we have to do it one-on-one. In terms of the GMO world, I'm mostly focused, I've shifted focus a little bit. I'm more about local food stuff, but that's tomorrow, my talk tomorrow. But I'm still very involved. I'm still on the board of GMO Free USA, and we are focusing a lot on the Impossible Burger, which I hope to talk a little bit about, because I think synthetic biology is a very dangerous thing just because it's so easy to get it slipped in without us knowing, and even manufacturers knowing what they're buying, and I can share that story at some point too. Anyway, so please empower yourselves to correct folks when they say, oh, it's just a little edit, just a little tweak. No, it's genetic engineering. The ramifications go all the way down the DNA strand, you know, with mutations and stuff, and we don't want any more oops factors. Yeah. Anyway, so keep the love going, you guys.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm Zen Honeycutt of Moms Across America. We're a national coalition of unstoppable moms, and we've been around for 6 years now. I actually started with a conversation with Pamm about joining into 4th of July parades after Prop 37 because we wanted to raise awareness with as many people as possible in the shortest amount of time. And I said, what about the name Moms Across America? And Pamm was the first one to say, I like that. So we're really happy that we've grown so much and we're reaching so many people now. I think our peak was like 4.5 million in 1 month, which was due to all of your sharing and everybody. We're really excited to be reaching a lot of people. But like Jeffrey mentioned, the reach needs to be bigger than just America. So what we've got on the horizon now is we're collaborating a lot with Japan. Japan, it owns they are the largest distributor of grains. They own the largest grain distributor in the world in Convent, New Orleans, and I've had the privilege to visit it. It's something like 300 million tons a year or something like that that goes out of that port. So the Japanese essentially own the Midwest. You know, they own like 87 different granaries where the grains come in and they put them down barge and go out of there. And so they distribute to China. They distribute to South Korea and to Taiwan and to Japan and all of that. And so if they decide that they don't want a future with GMOs, then it is a major game changer around the world. And so we focus on moms because they buy 85% of the food. Unstoppable, which is on Amazon right now, is being published in Japan. I'm really happy to announce I'll be there November 29th. I'm touring 9 cities, and I'm collaborating with the former Minister of Agriculture of Japan. We just hosted him to film a movie here in the U.S. And I connected him with a bunch of people. Bob Quinn is here, regenerative organic farmer. Give away, Bob. Stand up for a second. You've got to read his book. It's called Grain by Grain, and he's been a regenerative organic farmer for 30 years. And it's a fascinating, beautifully written book. And thank you so much for reading it, Bob. And so we had the former Minister of Agriculture of Japan go to Montana and visit with him, and he also had a tour of younger person's farm. And I also had to meet with some professors in UC Berkeley, Ignacio Chaparro and Maiwa Montenegro. And they were talking about gene editing because in Japan, they're opening the doors, right? They used to be protected there, but guess what? Trump's first visit anywhere in the world was to the president of Japan, to President Abe, and then they opened up the markets for GMOs. And so they will, by 2023, have a completely open market. They'll be importing our GMO cheese and meat and dairy and everything there, and they've already opened up the markets for GMO seeds and for gene editing. And so we had him talk to these geneticists and biologists at this university, and they said, we already have dozens and dozens of studies showing that on-target and off-target mutations happen with gene editing. Now, I know of 4, but they know of dozens and dozens. So the future of GMOs, really does look very frightening if we don't do something about this. And this means at a very large scale. We have to have government say no, not just people at the grocery market. And so, but that will only happen if we elect the right people and if we are really on top of that. And so if there's anything that you leave here from me, if I don't get to say anything else, what I want to ask of you is to consider if your future presidential candidate is funded by big ag, big pharma, or big oil, they are not your candidate. They are already bought. So I ask you to demand better and to ask of all of the candidates not to accept funding from them and to really be firm. I don't even care what party it's from right now. Both parties have really pissed me off, frankly. So they just cannot be funded by any of those people. So I don't know how much time I have, but I will talk about more things. I just want to say there's a lot of wins, and we'll talk about those things.
I want to introduce our 4th speaker here, Rachel Parent. She's from Toronto, Ontario. She's been a leader of the anti-GMO and labeling movement in Canada for a number of years. I think since you were 12 years old, right? You took down Monsanto in a debate that went viral on the internet. But Rachel has also worked with us in Regeneration International in a project called Regeneration Youth. But we're really happy she's here today. So what do you have to say?
Thanks, Ronnie, for the introduction. Sorry I was a little bit late there. There was a police incident on the highway, so got here a couple seconds late. But hi everyone, my name is Rachel. I'm so honored to be here today. Heirloom is one of my favorite places, and it offers not only us to have a platform to speak to each other, but all of us in this room to come up with ways to collaborate and work together. I started my journey into activism at a really young age. I was 12 when I first heard the word GMO, and I knew absolutely nothing about our food system. I knew nothing about GMOs, nothing about pesticides, and was just completely horrified to the incredible damage that our food system was creating environmentally and for our health. And I felt the need to stand up and to say something. So that began a long journey into where we are now, from debating Kevin O'Leary to doing TED Talks, and it's just been this incredible space that I've been given. But the one thing that's really concerning to me is this gene editing issue, and it's been, said time after time that this is one of the greatest threats to biodiversity. This is one of the greatest threats to our future that we're ever going to face. We're in the midst of this youth climate movement. We're in the midst of young people standing up and making a difference. And we need to start to connect the dots between our food system and this incredible climate change issue that we are facing that is threatening my future. I just turned 20, and I'm hearing that by 2030, I may not have a chance. And all of this gene editing and CRISPR technology that we're seeing is playing right into this. All these corporations are doing is not inventing nature, but reinventing it in a way that is profitable for them. It's appropriating nature, it's exploiting it, and it's owning nature, and it's an incredibly dangerous precedent that we've allowed to happen, and we can't continue to allow this to take place and infect our beautiful earth. So we all need to work together, and as everybody has said so far, it goes beyond the grocery store at this point. We need to be signing petitions. We need to be harassing our elected officials. After all, they are public servants, and they are here to serve us. And if we don't call them daily, if we don't send them letters daily, they're just not going to get it. But on top of that, aside from all the corruption within our government, and aside from all the lobbying that's happening, a lot of politicians simply don't know about these issues and simply don't understand them. Even our Canadian government said that they don't fully understand the issues surrounding gene editing, and they don't have the resources or funding to be able to research it themselves, so they rely on corporate science. Well, now it's our responsibility to provide them with the other side of the science. As much as that isn't our job, it is being forced upon us, and I'm relying on every single person in this room, because Jeffrey mentioned it, the 5 of us cannot do this alone. Every person in this room needs to get up and to stand up and become active, because it shouldn't be just put on the backs of the youth. After all, this is an intergenerational issue. We all share this earth. We all walk this planet. It's up to every single one of us to protect it for generations to come.
Yeah, I just want to ask the panel a couple of questions, and then we can have a broader discussion. Can some of you define synthetic biology and gene editing, and just very quickly, and tell us the difference between those two?
Yes, and I want to add that we're going to be talking about Impossible Burger, because this was a request that Pamm asked for, and it is really important. If it doesn't get stopped, then all the other fast food companies say, hey, let's do another genetically engineered monstrosity and hurt people without knowing. So with synthetic biology, we use that term where we turn microorganisms into factories. So I'll give you a stark example. That in the 1980s, a chemical company in Japan called KK took bacteria. And the bacteria produced L-tryptophan, which they sold on the American market. But after the bacteria produced stuff, they have to add other things into the mixture. So they said, let's just genetically engineer the bacteria by adding a different gene that produces something that we wanted to add to the vat anyway. And then a year later, let's do another gene, and let's do another gene. And they weren't aware that the number one result of genetic engineering is surprise side effects, and it ended up having contaminants. Very small amounts, 0.1%, 0.01%, 5 or 6 contaminants. The L-tryptophan passed the U.S. pharmacological standard of purity, but it also killed about 100 Americans and caused 5,000 to 10,000 to become sick or permanently disabled. And this was a cautionary tale which could have stopped genetic engineering in its tracks had the FDA told the world about it. But when they reported to Congress and their actions, they said, oh, it's all L-tryptophan. Never mind, it was only one company that created the problem, and that was the one company that was genetic engineering. They said, oh, it's all L-tryptophan, and they took tryptophan off the market and never told Congress about the genetic engineering roots. Another gene editing or synthetic biology experiment in the 90s, they took yeast and put some genes from yeast into the yeast to increase the outcome of one thing, but they found that there was a 40 to 200 times multiple of a toxin that could produce cancer. And they warned, we should be careful of genetically engineering yeast as a substrate to produce other products because of the side effects. So there you have two examples, early examples, warnings, one involving death and one which was a near miss about synthetic biology using these microorganisms to produce new substances. And before the panel defines gene editing, I'm going to pass it on to Pamm Lowry, who's going to talk about the Impossible Burger in this context. And I want to have the pleasure to say the reason why Prop 37 was voted upon, the reason why there was a campaign, was because Pamm Lowry said, I would like to start a campaign. And if she had asked me, I would have said no. I'm glad she didn't listen to me. Thank you, Beth.
So in the case of Impossible Burger, the reason I see the Impossible Burger as such an important thing to work on is a number of things. It's like a flagship entree for all of these different techniques. In the Impossible Burger, the reason it bleeds is because they take the DNA sequence from a soy nodule that's called heme. They then insert it into yeast, and then they ferment it, and it creates this juicy stuff. And that's what they mix with the genetically engineered soy, the genetically engineered soy protein isolate, and a bunch of other genetically engineered stuff. They used to have or toxic stuff. It contains 46 novel proteins that have never been in the food supply before. That's right, 46 proteins that have never been in the food supply before. It used to have wheat. They have since, but they didn't advertise that fact, so people would go into restaurants and order it, and who knows what kind of stuff. But anyway, now it's all soy because Burger King couldn't flip the burgers, and so that's my understanding of why they changed. Did you guys hear that too? Yeah. I heard it was because of Burger King. So they tout it as being the ecological answer. I've been at conferences where they tout it, and their goal is to make meat better than meat. So far, they have just burgers, but they're also doing chicken. They're doing steaks. It's mostly just in restaurants, but you can find it soon at stores. The biggest thing that I haven't, it offends me in all sorts of levels, but just their malarkey farkey BS campaign, that their support of massive agrochemical ways of raising agriculture is the best, is good for the planet. Like somehow this is a good idea. Okay, so the reason I really wanted to speak about it is that GMO Free USA started getting reports from people that they were feeling sick after eating it. So we actually have a survey going on right now. So if you talk to people and they eat the Impossible Burger, ask them, because we're getting reports of all the way through, didn't think about that, but yeah, I ate it 3 times and felt a little funky. All the way to I ended up in the hospital. Or I could not control my bowels. So nobody's tracking this. My thing is always whenever I talk to Diana Reeves about it, it's like, if this was at Chipotle, it would be all over the news. But for somehow people aren't making the connection. You can't really report it to the FDA because there's no easy way to report this kind of stuff to them. Impossible Burger certainly isn't going out and asking people how they feel after they eat it. So this is the crowdsourced survey that we're doing, kind of like an impromptu, you can't really call it a study because it's not, controlled or anything. But we would love to be able to have a lot more. We've had over 150 responses of people having different kind of things, but we would like to, before we go public with it, I suppose I'm going kind of public with it now, but we would like to have at least 500. So please help us do this crowdsourced investigative stuff and share on your newsletters. Thank you.
Okay, I have something to say about the Impossible Burger. So I was at the National Products Expo West, which we go to pretty much every year, and they were giving out samples in the press room of the Impossible Burger. And I thought, why is this GMO product at the National Products Expo West? I don't like this. And, but I know that I can get it tested for glyphosate, because if there's GMOs in there, there's likely glyphosate. Now, I took a sample, froze it, sent it in, and also decided to send in a sample of the Beyond Meat Burger at the same time, because, to be fair, test its competitor. So the Impossible Burger came back 11 times higher than the Beyond Meat Burger. And put that news out along with all the information about the GMO aspects. And we got slammed with attacks and all of that. But what did happen that was very unexpected was that the African American vegan community came out by the thousands. And we're talking about it on Instagram. I don't know what's happening on Instagram, but it is like it's all over on Instagram now, right? And so the African American vegan community is really upset about this because the Impossible Burger is being pushed as a healthy option in their communities at Burger King. And so, we just never know what community is going to pick up on something and run with it, and we really need to think about what kinds of communities we can reach that will expand, what we're talking about here, and that they will hear this message of, listen, the Impossible Burger perpetuates the current system of GMO monocrop culture farming. It does not change what's going on in America. It perpetuates poisoning the soil. It perpetuates poisoning our water. It perpetuates poisoning the human beings. And there are post after post after post of people getting sick after eating the Impossible Burger. And so I got to send them a link to your survey so we can all gather that. And the thing that I really don't like about the Impossible Burger is that they were so sneaky by getting into restaurants first, where they knew that it would not have to be labeled. And that to me,
my mom taught me to see the good in everyone and like really come from everything. But when you're sneaky and when when you try to manipulate people and take advantage of people, I'm gonna call y'all out on that. And that is not, it's just not nice, and it's not safe, and it's dangerous, it's irresponsible, and we see right through all this stuff with, oh, we need to prevent cable farms. Well, we want to prevent cable farms too, but you can have lentils. You don't have to have GMO soy that's monocrop farming, right? Lentils have been around for thousands of years. So that's sneaky, and we have to call that out, right? But what you mentioned about SynBio, I loved you asked that question because that's the exact question that I was having with Dana Pearls from Friends of the Earth before National Product Expo West last year. We were like, so many of these food manufacturers don't even know what SynBio is. And I thought, well, we're going to National Product Expo West. We should bring like a little handout that says, we want food, but not like all the bad stuff about it. Just, we want food without SynBio in it. And they'll be like, what's SynBio? And then they'll start asking their suppliers, well, these moms don't want SynBio. What is it? It is your vanilla SynBio. So it'll be a way to educate them because they'll know that if moms don't want it, they'll make more money if they don't have it in their products, right? So that evolved into a Moms Across America gold standard, a whole list of what moms want. And if they do these things, they'll get 3 stars at one level, 4 stars at another level, and 5 stars at another level. And so it's beyond non-GMO and organic. It's glyphosate testing, it's humanely raised, the packaging is biodegradable or bioplastics or recyclable. And at the 5th star level, the companies will have to donate 0.25% of their proceeds to organizations like OCA or Kiss the Ground or Farmers Footprint or Regeneration International, the ones that are transitioning farmers from GMO chemical farming to regenerative ag. And so for instance, a $20 million company will have to donate $50,000 to one of those organizations. So I think this is the way we can tangibly show that the market is shifting and we can make have those dollars go towards regenerative ag. And the moms that we run it by have been really thrilled about it. We're announcing a press release tomorrow with our first gold standard brand. And we really hope it takes off. Now, we know that it's going to be very difficult for a lot of them to do this because it does take months to do pesticide testing and to have all these different certifications. But they'll have a goal to live up to. And when it starts happening in the marketplace, moms will be able to see that and know this is a brand that's going above and beyond and making food that's not only good for the planet, good for families, but good for the planet too. So, and that all started out of the question, do they know about SynBio?
Just real quick, I'm sorry, but I have to make this point is that part of the new Bioengineering Act is that synthetic biology and gene editing is not recognized as genetic engineering there. So it slips outside the regulatory process. And I literally had a flavoring company called Devouded tell me that their vanilla was genetic synthetic biology, and I said, well, do you tell your producers? She said, we don't have to. And I said, so what do you tell them? And she said, we tell them that this is non-GMO, but would not qualify for the blue butterfly certification. So they're making it very, very interesting and difficult for us to be able to find them. So just as a little thing, make sure you look for non-GMO project verification because that is basically our only real true test of standard. What? Oh, and organic, except for
I think it was really interesting the point that you made about touching into different communities, and I think that is one of the things that is going to get us out of this entire mess, especially with the vegan community. I think that is a really untapped area where we have to look into. The reality is that majority of this genetically modified soy that we're seeing is destroying land, is destroying species, but also is coming from Brazil, also is coming from the Amazon, where our Amazon is being cut down at incredibly fast rates in order to grow this GM soy. And one of the major players in the Amazon right now is Cargill, which is the greatest exporter of soy from Brazil and is one of the largest beef conglomerates here in the United States. And so we need to start to help vegans realize the connection that by eating this genetically modified soy and by supporting Impossible Burger, you're also contributing to this other mass deforestation, which is unfortunately affecting the orangutans, is affecting all of these endangered species that we've all worked so hard to protect for years. And so it is very much all interconnected and all intersectional. And I think that's one thing that the food movement needs to continue to work on, is understanding that we are advocating for grass-fed beef and animals that are treated well and humanely, but we also want to see that the food that is plant-based is also humane and isn't affecting the world in dangerous ways.
Yeah, we're suing about 12 companies right now, last count, that are already for this a myth of natural and organic fraud campaign. And I know one of the cases, I think I'm not supposed to talk about it, but I won't name the company, but it was a high-end restaurant chain frequented by vegans and people who are very conscious about a lot of things, who were promoting the Impossible Burger as, the best thing since sliced whole wheat organic bread, I guess. And, but when we got them in court and got the dirty info out, they had to change their tune. I think they're paying us money now to monitor the fact that they're not lying as much. Lying. They claim they're not lying anymore about their products being organic or natural, and they're not. I just talked to Michael Hansen this morning from the Consumers Union. He's one of our scientific champions in the battle against Frankenfoods and crops all these years, since 92, I think, when I first started working with Michael. But he pointed out that we should check out the October issue of Consumer Reports, which just came out. And there's an issue on an article on the Impossible Burger that the Silicon Valley investors don't really like. But one of the things he said we should stress is that this is the most highly processed food you can imagine, right? Highly processed foods, as we know, are correlated and cause disease and cancer and so on. And he specifically said that this heme chemical, you don't want to be splicing this into plants. If you look at the correlation between heme and cancer, it's pretty alarming. So this truly is, this is not hyperbole when we call the Impossible Burger the cancer burger. And we've got to do several things. We've got to drive Silicon Valley up against the wall, the same way we've done with Monsanto and Bayer. But we also have to educate our brothers and sisters who are vegans, that we agree with them 100%, never to have another bite of meat or animal product, dairy, poultry, eggs, including milk in your coffee, never ever again from a factory farm in the industrial area. And we expect them to live up to that too. And we can work together for a better world for all of us, including the 70 billion farm animals around the world, 70% of whom are in animal prisons right now as we talk about it. So let's walk our talk, and it doesn't matter whether you're vegan or a judicious eater of grass-fed, grass-finished meat occasionally. We need to unite together, and we've got to not only put these corporations against the wall, the way we've done with Monsanto, we've got to make our elected public officials, and there's 519,000 of them in the United States, if you count local school boards and city councils and county boards and conservation district people. We gotta make them take a stand on this. We gotta change our political system, the way we've started to change the way people consume and think about food and think about animals, think about nature. And we have a short timeline, but thank God we have the overwhelming majority of people on our side. We have truth on our side. And there's also this power out there that you're not supposed to talk about publicly. But there's this invisible power in the universe that I can tell by looking in the eyes of the people here that you are tuned into that, you know. And ultimately, we are going to win this battle, and we're going to win it fairly quickly here because time requires it.
What I'm wondering is, first of all, Ronnie Cummins, revolutionary for our health, amazing guy, the champion. He's the older on this panel, 1992. So I'm going to ask if you wanted to take down the different contact information from the people on the panel. If you wanted to get your pens out or your phones out, now would be good before we open it up to questions.
And while you're doing that, I just want to put in one more factoid about Impossible Burger. Major funder of the purchase that marinade of Monsanto, Cummins, which is a $398 billion hedge fund from out of Singapore. They funded that purchase. Temasek also funds the Impossible Burger. Temasek also funds vaccines. So, big pharma, big ag, all connected. Just thought you might want to.
All right, while you have the microphone, can you please give how people can get in touch with Moms Across America?
Sure, momsacrossamerica.org. And we're also, it's our sign up for our newsletter and our action alerts. And we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. This is the GMO panel, so contact GMO Free USA. GMO Free California officially merged with them, so you'll be getting emails from both of us.
Survey.
The survey is at GMO Free USA at the website of the campaigns.
Sure, and organicconsumers.org is one of our websites, and then regeneratorinternational.org, but also the Facebook pages, which have a whole lot of people on them. Organic Consumers Facebook, but also Millions Against Monsanto. And if you're looking in Spanish, Millones contra Monsanto is our website, or is our Facebook, and then Via Organica, VIAORGANICA.org.
You can go to my website, kidsrighttoknow.com, as well as genearth.com. It's gen-earth.com, .org, sorry. And you can find out more information there. Also follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You'll find me under @Rachel's News. And for Facebook, you can also follow our Kids Right to Know page.
And I'm going to give a shout out to another organization, because we asked about synthetic biology. There's a database that you can know what's been synthesized through genetic engineering. It's called SynBioWatch. Syn is S-Y-N for synthetic. SynBioWatch.org. And then I am with the Institute for Responsible Technology at responsibletechnology.org. We also have Facebook and others, but I'm going to give you a phone number where you can text the word join, and then you'll be on the email list, and we will send you the information we're putting together for this coalition to protect nature. And the phone number is 415-985-0884. That's 415-985-0884. You'll be asked for your name and then your email address, and then you'll be receiving information from us. I wanted to make sure we did that before the big diaspora.
Okay, and then we promised questions from the audience, which you can direct to specific members of the panel. You're first, you're second.
So last night I spent the night. Thank you. Last night I spent the night with my daughter in Berkeley, and I opened her fridge, and she has a pack of Beyond Meat, and it has the non-GMO label. However,
It's not organic anything. And I want to know if there's any materials that people put out on the real dangers.
Anything. Like there are, there's materials for people that are vegan to aware people about what happens with animal agriculture. Because there's just not enough information out there to alert people about the dangers of eating just non-GMO. Not eating just something that's non-GMO is not enough.
Yes, that's great. And we did, momsacrossamerica.org, we have a blog. It was, I don't remember the name of it, but if you typed in 36 children, we tested 36 children for glyphosate in their urine, and I believe half were eating healthy and half were just regular standard American diet. And we were shocked to find that the ones that were eating healthy had higher levels of glyphosate and some toxins. We were like, what the heck should we do with this information? So we didn't put it out right away because we really needed to figure this out. And then Tony Meacher from Canada, God bless his heart, got the Canadian Food Inspection Agency to test 7,800 samples of food. And out of that data, an enormous amount of data, it showed that garbanzo beans and wheat and soy and peas and beans and legumes and all of that were highly sprayed with glyphosate, had the highest residue, and those are all the ingredients that are in vegan and vegetarian food. So I was like, people, the ones that are eating the healthiest food are getting the highest levels of glyphosate. And of course, the media was quiet, very silent, because nobody wants to know that. And but it's now starting to come out more, that if you're feeding your kids wheat, conventional pita, and hummus for lunch, maybe they had oatmeal for breakfast, and then maybe they have like a sandwich or pasta dinner, they are getting the highest levels of glyphosate possible, right? Even if you think it's healthy. It's not, even if it's vegan, right, vegetarian. So on momsacrossamerica.org, we have a flyer that says why eat organic, and it shows the impact of GMOs and conventional food and all of that on health and the environment and on the economy and farmers and all of that too. So you can go there. Did that answer all of your question?
Yeah, like you say, my concern is her and I are both vegan, but there is like this false sense of security about eating just non-GMO labeled.
Yeah, so that's the thing about the non-GMO project is that it became very, very popular, and all of a sudden people think that that's more important. Well, the thing is that organic means non-GMO and no pesticides. However, they don't test as much as they should. I'm sorry, guys, but I used to be on the Organic Consumers Products Advisory Committee and got really tuned in with them on what's going on, and got the records from the CDFA and the National Organic Program of what they test for, and I compared it to the most widely used herbicides and pesticides in the world, and the U.S. government the National USDA only tests for 20% of the most widely used pesticides and herbicides for contamination in organic, and California only tests for 30%. So that means 70 to 80% of the pesticides that could be contaminated in organic are not even being tested for. So when they say 90-something% of the samples that were tested were below the amount that's supposed to be in there, that really doesn't mean very much. So honestly, that's why Moms Across America started the gold standard, because at the 4th star level, the 2nd level, they have to get additional pesticide testing. And that's just what we want. And a company may not be willing to do that, but that's what needs to happen, because there is contamination happening. And then and the ones that are willing to do that, it'll be shown that they don't have contamination, that they're working really hard with their farmers. So it must be, the gold standard is non-GMO and organic, and I would say our Moms Across America gold standard once that's out.
I want to just clarify for those that may not know. Glyphosate is the chief poison in Roundup, so glyphosate levels are based on Roundup. The reason why glyphosate is in cereals and beans is because, as what Bobby Kennedy said earlier, it's being used as a desiccant 3 to 5 days before harvest on the non-GMO crops that can be dried down. So that to be clear, it can be non-GMO and still sprayed with Roundup, and if it's a grain or a bean, it likely is, unless it's organic. So that's the backstory of that.